My name is Brian An. I'm 18 years old. I go to Central High School. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and my ethnicity is Khmer.
My name is Nancy Zong. I am a Hmong American daughter, and I am 17 years old, and I currently go to Classical High School.
The Southeast Asian community is really big in Rhode Island, but I feel like Southeast Asian history should be taught in schools. So people of the Southeast Asian community who are younger, like the youth, can know their history on how they came here and also how America was involved. I feel like people don't understand our history because it's not being taught in public schools. And I feel like if we talk more about the Southeast Asian history, people will understand where we're coming from. Because we came here as refugees. People don't really know that.
You go to an American school that doesn't stressfully force ethnic studies or any studies of other cultures. You just learn the same history basically throughout elementary, middle school, and high school. And that really impacts Southeast Asians because even if you really wanted to learn about your culture, but you don't have the opportunity to do so unless you learn it from your parents or your grandparents.
Due to the Vietnam War and the regional wars in Southeast Asia related to it, many ethnic groups sought to flee Southeast Asia in the second half of the 20th century and come to the US. Many were impacted by the brutality of war or genocide. Others came to the US seeking economic opportunities.
And it personally makes me feel very angry and also very sad that the youth of the Southeast Asian community doesn't know how they got here. And the elders of the Southeast Asian community, they were so traumatized through that experience. But they're so traumatized they can't tell their story.
You come to America for a better life, but then you forget where you come from.
I went through an identity crisis because I didn't know what Khmer was or what Cambodian was, and it was my identity.
It impacted my generation a lot because you have some teens or some people growing up not knowing their own culture.
And also, most Southeast Asian communities and at a young age have intergenerational trauma, and also they have identity crisis, and the youth of the Southeast Asian community is going through the same crisis that the refugees of Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, they're going through the same struggle as the refugees, even though they're born into this country.
It's affected a lot. It's been 3 generations since Hmong people came to America, and it's very traumatic, especially for the first generation that came here. Coming here with knowing no English or having to leave your home or not even knowing how to buy food, not knowing anything at all.
So the organization I'm part of is ARISE. It's Alliance of Rhode Island Southeast Asian for Education. And what we do is that we try to expand Southeast Asian history and also culture in our communities. We're a nonprofit organization. We have many programs to help students of color, especially more specifically Southeast Asians. To me personally, when I work with ARISE this year, this is my first year working with them, it's been a journey. I grew so much. Every day I'm changing because I'm learning everything I wanted to in school. It's just, ARISE for me, it's family because they don't sugarcoat shit and they tell you how it is.
My name is Renina Nguyen. I'm 16 years old. I'm a sophomore at Moses Brown, and I'm an ARISE youth leader. Before ARISE, I felt like I didn't really understand much about not only my culture, but just cultures in general.
But when I learned my history as a Khmer American, I felt empowered because I was so aware of these things, and it made me realize that there's different perspectives in every culture and every ethnicity. And I learned a lot about, the Black community and Hispanic community, but I never really learned about my own community. It's life-changing.
And with the Rise, I have been able to expand my knowledge on systematic oppression and just overall intergenerational trauma, historical trauma, and how certain genocides and certain historical events have truly affected the Southeast Asian community specifically, but also other communities, and just how it impacts our day-to-day life as youth and students of color within these schools that try to knock us down, but Arise truly amplifies our voice.
And I feel like I learned a lot more about myself and about my community with Hidden Lotus, especially considering the fact that I didn't really know that there was different types of Asian ethnicities, which was really bad. Before I found Arise, I didn't. I really just thought it was like Chinese, Japan, that's it. That's where my mind was. It was so bad.
I feel like we're very often neglected and no one really pays attention to us.
With Southeast Asians, I feel like they're very underrepresented. So you don't hear much about what's going on there. And the sad thing is that they have relatively the same struggles as us. So the fact that theirs is hidden and it's not really coming to the light, I'm not gonna say that there's nothing we can do about it, because that's what we're working on now.
It made me believe that students, especially students, should be socially conscious of what's going on in the world and what's going around in America. And also, they should be socially conscious on their history, where they came from, their background, their culture. And it made me realize to be also civically responsible for these things, because yes, we are America, the youth are Americans. We make up this country and we have the right to know our history, and we should fight to have our history told.
So I think going to Arise helped me feel connected with somebody, because in my school environment, I just don't feel connected with anyone. But now I feel connected and I'm able to use the tools that I've learned and communicate my issues with people that necessarily don't look like me or feel the way that I feel. I've definitely been more comfortable having those conversations. Within my family and within my school environment, it's sort of hush-hush and we don't really talk about it.
There is something that we can do about it, and that's what we're trying to do with Arise and PRISM and many other organizations. So basically, the struggle, I feel like it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time, but it's not impossible. And that's one thing that I actually enjoy about Arise, is what Renina said earlier, is making our voices heard and helping make Southeast Asian cultures, helping them make their voices heard as well.
The Southeast Asian community is going to write their own history, because we don't want that shit no more.